everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Kat. As we all know, getting interviews is really difficult in consulting. There might be statistics out there that you've seen that, over 95% people screen out at the interview round. So the key question here is, how do you get an interview, right? Many of you, email me, commented in my videos, ask me, I have so much experience, not only just in healthcare in general, but also, program management or other experience. And, I have good GPA, I have a good degree. Why can't I get an interview, right? I've tried so many different companies and then none of them give me an interview, or why there are only one or two companies that I can get an interview. I don't understand why, I think I'm pretty qualified, right? I have experience with the project management, I got my PhD, I have pretty good scores. Why can't I get an interview, right? Is it that difficult? I don't understand, what did I do wrong? So in this video, I really want to address such concerns, so let you know that getting interview is not that difficult. Many of the mistakes that you can avoid in order to get that interview. So all these questions I plan to address in my next few videos about resume and cover letters. These are the two key elements that you need to apply and get that interview. So if you like such content, please like the video and subscribe to my channel so I can provide you more content about career development, especially in consulting and medical science liaison and sales. Let's get started. So yes, it is difficult to get an interview, but I think it is not that difficult. There is a simple way to draft your resume and cover letters. Just nobody talking about what is the best way to do it. So many of us started from scratch, and of course you make mistakes, and that is a quite expensive mistake because you waste your time. Because typical consulting, if it's management consulting, it is every year at certain time you have deadlines for apply, right? So if you miss that, if you didn't get interview this year, you have to wait another year before you apply. But even for the boutique consulting, right, even it's a rolling basis, if you don't get interview, right, you don't want to just keep submitting, right? Then your HR keeps seeing your name, they will probably just reject you right off the bat. So you probably also want to wait at least 6 months or a year before applying it again. So this is a huge loss on the time cost wise, right? It is expensive to not get the interview at the beginning. So I really want to tell you what are the common mistakes that you should avoid on your resume in this video. Before I dive deep into these mistakes, so first if we take a step back, right? So what is the goal of the resume? Okay, why are you writing these resumes? Of course, right? The answer is getting that interview, right? Just you have to get an interview, then you can move forward to the next round. So how do you make your resume stand out? So if you put yourself in the shoes of the HR in that dream firm that you want to work for. Okay, so if you're the HR, right? Every single day, potentially, you have so many people submitting resume and applications on the website, right? And that's not even including people by referral and other methods to submit their resume. Okay, so potentially every day you have, hundreds of resume in front of you that you have to go through. So how do you select that resume potentially want to extend an interview to? Right? That resume has to be clear on the message, right? And that resume has to have something that really catch your eye. You're like, oh, this candidate sounds very interesting, right? This candidate have this unique experience and did this achievement, really stand out from the crowd, right? You have to have some highlights. At the same time, you also don't want to, have super long resume. I get a resume, I'm like, oh my God, it's 10 pages, right? Imagine if you're HR, right? You see a 10-page resume, you just throw it away. You probably don't even want to, flip it through, right? So imagine this whole process of the HR, then you know how to actually prepare the resume and make it stand out. Let's dive into the 9 mistakes. This is first, I already mentioned, do not have long resumes, okay? I know many of us are PhDs and we're really proud of what we've done, right? Oh, you know, I have 10 publications, not only first authors, co-first authors, co-authors. I just really want to highlight, right, the research I've done, all the effort that I put in the grad school. And I really want to just show that, you know, because, right, like if I'm gonna apply for postdoc or apply for a faculty position, this is what you do, right? You list the year of publications and what is the name of the publications, the journal, the issue, everything. And you just list a bunch of them. And then the longer the better, right? Typically in academia. But that is a mistake in consulting, even in industry, okay? So you do not want to list all your publications, so like make the resume super long. So the first mistake, do not have super long resumes. It's not a resume, then it's a CV, okay? That's why we call it a resume. So the standard for consulting is 1 page. Some firms, very few firms, potentially tolerate 2 pages for resume. But again, right? If you imagine you're HR, you have 100 people, like that's probably at the you know, fewer side. You have 100 resumes in front of you in a day you have to go through. And if everybody has 1 page, that's perfect. That's like 100 pages, right? Everybody has 2 pages. Imagine that's double the amount of work that you have to do. You probably already start feeling frustrated, okay? We don't have to mention those 10-page people, okay? Second, do not list the publications, okay? One by one, all the way from, I don't know, you were undergrad and you think, oh my god, that was just my first publications, I really don't want to, you know, leave that out. Don't put that there. So from HR's perspective, they think you're just lazy, okay? You, PhD, you potentially already have a CV with all the list of publications out there. You don't even bother, like cut them out and use a more clear way to address your achievements, and you just list all the publications, right? You don't even try to make an effort, right? Third, no list of your projects. So if you think back, right, on the academic CVs, you want to list not only your publications, but also what kind of project you've done in the grad school. You want to say what projects I've done, what kind of grants I've got, right? Like based on what kind of project, what is my research goal is, all these, just cut them out, please. Like imagine you only have 1 page, okay? If you have that in mind, you only have 1 page. So you really want to just highlight the ones are relevant to consulting. The fourth one is do not list your technical skills. It is not an industry resume. So maybe, you know, at the same time while you're applying the consulting jobs, you're also applying the post-law industry or some other industry jobs. So you're like, okay, I already have that resume ready and it's 2 pages, you know, I could just like spin it off to the consulting. But again, why? Like why this firm needs you? Why this consulting firm needs you? They do not need your skills to do microscope work for them, right? They don't need you to, you know, read your slides and the scope. It is definitely very important in the industry, right? Because if you're applying for a job, let's say you want to go for a postdoc job in industry, a neuroscience focused biotech, then of course you really want to tell them, I know how to do animal work, I know how to do cell culture, I know how to do molecular biology, I have experience in genetics, high throughput sequencing, everything, blah blah blah. You can list all the skills that you have. But if you want to transition to consulting, none of the skills are relevant, correct? So please, just cut them out, okay? So these are really the big 4 mistakes academics would like to put on their resume, because they think I've spent, you know, 6 years, 10 years in this field. I really want to highlight what I've achieved, right? And what skill set I have. But think, consulting jobs don't need those skills, don't need that publications, right? They don't need that, okay? Yes, I understand that it's really important to you, but please, if you decide to move on to consulting, all these publications and skill sets are not relevant. So now, after, you know, you're like, okay, so I'm cutting out my publications, I'm cutting out my technical skills, I'm cutting out all my projects, so what should I put on my resume? Good question, because this leads to the next mistake that I will talk about, which is only describing what you've done. So what I mean by that is So for example, you've done, let's say, 3 different projects in grad school, right? And you do want to highlight that because you managed many people in the projects, blah, blah, blah. But for many people, they will literally describe what they've done technically. The resume is not about you. It is about the reader, right? It is about the audience. How they perceive your resume is important. If they think what you've done is important, then they would extend an offer. If they don't even understand what you're talking about, forget about it, right? All right, so move on to, what else you should avoid. A very, very common one is you fail to use some action verbs. What I mean is, at least my experience is when you write papers, write your thesis, or even just, present yourself in the PowerPoint format, a lot of times that the professor prefers in a way to make it complicated. Like make the sentence very complicated. Like we tend to use sentence filled with passive words, right? And later on I realized a lot of academics like to write sentences very complicated, right? Seems like you're really smart by using complex sentence structures, but this should be avoided in the consulting resumes especially, right? And later on, if you actually get a job, you will also know that most companies would also avoid such sentences because they're also a service industry, right? Consulting, so you also want your client to understand what you're trying to say, right? The easier, the simpler the sentence is, the better, because the client can understand that. You don't want to overcomplicate things. You're not trying to prove that you're smart because you're already smart being a consultant, and clients hire you because they think you can solve their problems, right? So the goal of a consultant is to deliver what you've learned to the clients in a succinct and clear way, right? You don't want to just confuse the clients. Does that make sense? So try to use action verbs, and I will cover what you should do in my next couple videos about the resumes. And I will explain more about this in my next few videos on, where are the resources you can go and look up words or verbs that you can use on your resume as well. Now imagine you have your resume pretty much there with all these action verbs, phrased achievements, right? And then you have your professional experience, leadership experience, whatever you want to put on a resume. And typically if you've seen, some resume examples, it ends up with hobbies, right? You want to also show you are not a nerd 100%. You have some extracurricular activities. You also do something else for fun, right? Not just work. People like to put hobbies on the bottom of your resume. So this is the next mistake that most people do, is put very generic hobbies. You don't want to just put generic hobbies there, then why would you want to put there? Then I try to see, okay, you like to cook. Okay, fine, everybody likes to cook. Or you like food. Okay, I understand, everybody likes foods, just try to avoid that. If you don't have interesting hobbies, then just leave it blank. It's better to leave it blank and filled with more interesting professional experiences than just trying to have that hobby, section and put some generic ones. If you want to put travel, for example, right? You say, I like travel. No, it is too generic. You cannot say, I just like travel, I enjoy travel. You should say, where you've been, right? You can say, I've been to all the national parks in the United States, right? I've backpacked South America, something that at least a little bit different, okay? Don't put too generic hobbies. So the next mistake I really want to emphasize is do not format your resume in a weird way. Please just format in a way that is readable, right? Clear, simple, that's all you need, okay? Don't try to flash here a cartoon or flash there a logo or something. It's just too much and it's too busy. You already only have limited space there, 1 page, and you're really trying to maximize that page to show how great you are as a person and how perfect you are for that position. That's all you're trying to say, right? Don't just make that resume too weird looking for the HR, okay? Make their life easy. That's all you're trying to do. It's very small, but a lot of people just forget about that. They think if I can somehow make my resume different, you know, from the rest of the piles of resume, then, you know, I might catch HR's eye. Yes, you potentially achieve that purpose. You might not get that interview. So the last point I want to make is avoid jargons. This is to every single person, because no matter where you were before going to consulting, you are potentially an expert in a field. And when you're trying to demonstrate that field or that experiences, it's very easy to put jargon there. You might not think those are jargons, right? You think, okay, I use it every day, like, why is it a jargon? But please let other people to read that. You are trying to maximize your potential from that resume, and at the same time, you're trying to minimize the discomfort that you're bringing to him or her, right? You don't want, you know, HRs reading that resume and like, oh, you know, this weird format, oh, what does that mean? Like, you know, yes, you know, he or she might be smart, but apparently that definitely didn't make me feel that I'm smart, make me feel I'm stupid. Then why would I like this person to be in the firm, right? So I think all these mistakes are not that big, you know, they're like small, but if your resume has any of these, it will cost you an interview opportunity. And I know that you really need this interview opportunity, okay? I hope this video is helpful, and the easiest way to start building your resume is look at other people's examples. So there are many consulting resume examples online that you can easily a Google click away, okay? Do your homework, see how other people format their resume, to see how other people put on their resume. Just copy that. It's not that difficult. Well, sounds very simple, right? So what you should put in that professional experience section, what you should put in that leadership experience section, what you should put actually in every section, right? Like, it's about all the details as I've addressed in this video. So what is the best way to do that? Please look forward to my next video where I will demonstrate how you actually should write your resume in order to get an interview. I hope you enjoyed this video, and please like my video if you enjoyed the content, and leave comments below and let me know if you have any questions. I will definitely address it in my future videos. Thanks so much for watching. I will see you in the next video.